Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Monday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, Anthony Davis goes off as the Lakers get a badly needed win on Sunday. Can they build on it from here? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. We appreciate you joining us for the show. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you go to see it. You generally get it a little bit early, particularly on non-game days, Andy, of which the Lakers have a bunch coming up this week. So it's a great week to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and take advantage of getting it a little bit early. And join the community there that's helped not only grow the subscribers, but also lots of great comments and great place to be. Good little bunch of Lakers fans that have gathered there. So
little bunch, it's almost 9,000 subscribers. Dare I say it's a damn army.
But they don't all comment at once. It's a big batch of people. Especially we got some great regulars though. So if you get into this community, you're going to recognize a lot of the names. You're going to see the same people again. People respond to each other. We respond to you. You respond to us. So we do the best we can to try to really engage with the people on that page. Appreciate all of the growth there. So after Friday's loss to Sacramento, Andy, we talked about the necessity for the Lakers of somehow winning on Sunday against Brooklyn. We also focused a lot on Anthony Davis, and not an apples to apples comparison, because what the Kings were doing on Sunday is different than what the Nets did, or on Friday is different than what the Nets did on Sunday. But regardless, Sunday was the Anthony Davis leads the team to victory without LeBron game, come hell or high water, that everybody wanted. He was dominant.
Yeah,
in Sunday's game.
From start to finish in this game, AD was the best player on the court, and it frankly was not even close. 37 points, 15 of 25 from the field, 7 of 7 at the line, 18 rebounds, 10 on the offensive glass, and those offensive rebounds were often huge in this game, Brian. To put it in perspective, Brooklyn had 8 offensive rebounds as a team. So Anthony Davis did better on the offensive glass than Brooklyn did, shooting a few percentage points lower, meaning more potential opportunities,
right,
than the Lakers had in this game. Defensively, he like a lot of guys on this team, I think did a good job of making Kevin Durant work. Durant finished with 31 points. But, a lot of it was at the line, and I didn't think that he got a ton that was easy in this game, especially when you consider the fact that other than AD, who defensively has to kind of mine the whole store for the Lakers, they don't really have any natural covers on this team. I mean, there's nobody who is a natural cover for Kevin Durant, period, because he's Kevin Durant. But in terms of just guys on paper that you say, all right, he matches up well with Kevin Durant, if nothing else. Other than AD, the Lakers have nobody. But everybody from Patrick Beverley doing a really good job fronting KD to Westbrook very enthusiastically going at him in the one-on-ones. We'll talk about that because it was one of those for better and for worse, but either way, it was entertaining. Anthony Davis sometimes face guarding Durant 7 feet from the 3-point line.
Right, yeah. I mean, Troy Brown had some
a lot of really well-timed doubles against KD. I thought the Lakers did a really good job in this game making up for the fact that they don't really have anybody to put on somebody of KD's caliber.
Yeah, and we'll get back to the defense on KD here, because I think it's important, and what you're pointing out I think is absolutely true. I love the amount of looks that the Lakers threw at KD. Look, Durant finished with, like you said, 31 points on 16 shots, 9 rebounds. So he had a good game.
He did.
The Nets did not lose because
He
Kevin
did, but
Durant didn't
he was
perform.
quiet in the first half, though. Like he
Yeah,
kind
he
of got
was,
going
but like
more in the.
it all counts. But
Sure.
I think where defensively the Lakers also really, were very effective, and we'll turn back to AD here in a second. Is just that other than KD, nobody else really went off. Cam Thomas finished with 15 points. Edmund Sumner finished with 13, but it needed 12 shots to get there. Lakers benefited from some very cold shooting, particularly in the first half from three-point range from Brooklyn, which fed into how how they were able to defend KD. A lot of, you mentioned like the fronting with Pat Beverly, which forces a lot of backside help, which gives up a lot of open threes. Brooklyn missed all of them. And so you felt like the Lakers were like, we're just going to keep doing it until Brooklyn starts making shots. Made a few
kind of like the way
half.
Teams defend the Lakers.
Yes, we will force you to make shots. Now, that didn't happen as much with the way Brooklyn seemed to defend AD a little more straight up than I would have. And like, especially like, cause I was ready. I mentioned this on our bonus show for Saturday after the game on Friday. I was ready after the Sacramento game to like lay into AD, who was not a factor in the fourth quarter. But he wasn't a factor in the fourth quarter because Sacramento basically said, we're going to make it impossible. We're going to throw 2 guys, 3 guys at AD at the slightest hint that he might touch the ball. And what I loved about what you said, talking about AD and what was so relevant for this game was that from start to finish, AD's had plenty of great first halves, first quarter, second quarters, even some decent third ones. But that fourth quarter where he was still, that was what let the Lakers pull away and was different from other games versus tonight in terms of evaluating Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, like I mentioned before, just his work on the offensive glass was a factor in all 4 quarters. And that was an area where they truly could not match AD. They were absolutely
follow dunk after follow dunk after follow dunk.
Yeah, I mean, he was absolutely just destroying anybody, particularly trying to keep him off that offensive glass. I mean, and really other than Nick Claxton, especially with Ben Simmons not available in this game, like in terms of just size options, just they had nobody that they could put on AD just as a body trying to box him out. I mean, they just couldn't occupy him down low. And this gets into something that I was very critical about during that same bonus show, about the lack of involvement with AD, because as you said, to be fair to him, this was less of a matter of him not being aggressive enough as the Lakers being incapable of giving him the ball because of those doubles, sometimes triples. But one thing that I found really frustrating watching that game was the Lakers, I thought, just got really stagnant and uncreative, just parking AD in the post and having him just basically waiting with his arm up for the ball to come to him. And with all those bodies there, the Lakers couldn't figure out a right angle. Frankly, weren't even trying that hard to like swing it around, reverse it, all that different stuff. And they eventually just settled on creating their own shots that didn't go down. In this game, I thought the Lakers just did a way better job of varying how they would get AD those looks. They had him in motion a lot more. They had running high screen and roll a lot more. There were some great sequences where AD slipped screens really well, found himself set up right at the rim. And I thought, regardless, I agree with you. I thought it was unusual the way the Nets didn't throw as many bodies at AD during this game. I did think, though, that the Lakers made it much more difficult for them to throw multiple bodies at AD because he wasn't always doing the same thing.
Let's stick on that for a second, because I think there are other things that happened in this game that made that possible, that were different than Sacramento. Ways that the Lakers were effective offensively, other players that were effective offensively to allow it to happen. So let's get to that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% sure that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's easy to lay out all the information about your business, the work environment you want to foster, projects that you want to do, all that stuff. And from there, just add the job you're looking to fill and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you want to interview and hire. Small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
So, Andy, obviously, without getting buried in the statistical differences and the nuances of Sacramento's ability to defend versus Brooklyn's, and say, I know Lakers fans love to mock the Kings, but the Kings actually played pretty well. They won again on Sunday. They beat Golden State. I think they've won 5 of 7 or something like that, and are playing pretty well. Brooklyn is a tire fire defensively, and it really, I think, showed on Sunday. But one of the things I think that allowed the Lakers to do much better work, let AD get loose, get him down to the basket, run those high screens, and do all that was, you had Russell Westbrook orchestrating the offense when he was in. It wasn't efficient with his shot, needed 15 shots to get 14 points. But he had 12 assists and, took relatively good care of the ball. But you also had Lonnie Walker with 25 on 15 shots, 4 of 5 from 3-point range. Austin Reaves, 15 points, including 3 of 4 from 3-point range. They shot 41% from 3. They made Brooklyn respect more than one facet of their game. And so that helps loosen Anthony Davis up. If you can get to the rim, if guys can penetrate and try to score there, and you don't have an opponent that can keep Anthony Davis off the glass, he's going to be there to clean up a lot of messes. And that's what happened, on Sunday. It was a better, more well-rounded performance offensively, where maybe they shouldn't have, but they did. Brooklyn was sort of forced to respect everything else that the Lakers were doing on offense. And you just, like I said, you had Anthony Davis engaged in everything that he was doing, to the point where that's the kind of aggression, like putting a stamp on a game. It's not just the numbers, it's following misses. It's dunks off of second chances. It's all that stuff where you go like, damn, here's a guy that's dominating and refusing to allow the other team to do anything. They can't run. They can't, like, Brooklyn wasn't able to do anything because Anthony Davis was so dominant on the offensive glass.
Yeah, I thought there were 2 factors in particular with the overall offense that made a really big difference in this game. First of all, Lakers shot almost 41% from 3, and that's with Patrick Beverley going 0 for 4 and Russ going 1 for 6. The rest of the team was really, really effective from outside. Austin Reaves hit 3 threes. Lonnie Walker hit 4. And just opening up that space in the game. Like, eventually, if it starts feeling like, the inverse of Brooklyn we talked about before, it was pretty clear early on, like, this was not a night they were going to be hitting from outside. This was pretty early on a night the Lakers were.
Right. And it matters psychologically. Like, if you see, like, it's very difficult to stick with a defensive plan that says, seriously, it's okay, keep letting them shoot. Like, just keep letting them shoot. If they hit 50% of them at the beginning, fine, keep letting them shoot, because this team is lousy at that, and eventually they're going to stop. The inverse of that for the Lakers was, all right, we're going to give up a lot of open shots. Let's see how long we can stick with it. And Brooklyn allowed them to do that. But the psychology of those two things, it's very difficult as a defensive team to just keep letting teams shoot open threes when they're making them. And so that forces you into a different mindset.
And then the other thing that the Lakers did really well in this, in terms of just opening up opportunities for AD, like you mentioned, sometimes cleaning up messes, but also too, just putting Brooklyn's defense on its heels was they were relentless and effective attacking the rim.
Mm-hmm.
And you had that from Lonnie Walker. You had it from Austin Reaves, Russell Westbrook, even a guy like who wasn't necessarily attacking, but was effective in that area. Sneaky good Wenyen Gabriel. This was a really nice game from Wenyen. He had 9 points, but his activity in close, he had a nice 2-man game going with Russell Westbrook on a few sequences. He hit a 3. That's when you know, by the way, that's why you knew that Russ and Wenyen had this synergy going, because it came on a sequence where Russ was like dribbling, looking to break some.
It was one of the worst possessions of the game.
Yeah. And then he passes off to Wenyen in the corner. I'm like, dude, what are you? Oh, that's what you're doing.
It was 20 seconds of Russ dribbling out the clock, passing it to Wenyen Gabriel in the corner. Like, if you just write that down on a piece of paper, like here's this possession. Russ dribbles for 20 seconds and passes to Wenyen Gabriel for a corner 3. What happens? Generally speaking, you're going to say that probably didn't end well. But you know what? It was one of those nights too where you realize, like, okay, this might just be a day where things, and I feel like karmically, I mean, the Lakers are not playing well. I mean, we're talking about sort of what they do from here, because I think it's sort of it's an interesting challenge for Darvin Ham and the rest of the team. But like, when you look at the Lakers haven't really done anything other than like damage inflicted by the front office and I guess to some degree LeBron to themselves, like to bring on really bad vibes or whatever. They just aren't that good right now. Brooklyn's different. So I feel like karmically, this game might have been one that's an advantage to the Lakers. And there were a few possessions throughout the game. They had a couple, one where, I think it might have been another Russ possession where the clock gets dribbled down to nothing and they miss a terrible shot at the rim, but get the offensive rebound and end up scoring. But Russ dribbles out 20 seconds and passes to Wenyen Gabriel for a converted corner 3 is one of those, might be our night kind of possessions.
But I mean, look, to be fair to Russ,
I'm going to say, but you open that with saying they only scored 9 points. 9 points from Wenyen Gabriel is a massive boost to the offense.
Yeah.
I know you didn't mean it that way, but I was just like you can't only Wenyen Gabriel with 9 points. That's like, ooh, look at that. Like that helps you get to 120 on a night where LeBron's not there.
Sure. I just meant because before we were pointing out guys in double digits and Lonnie Walker legitimately exploded in this game. His 25 points came on 15 shots.
Oh, he's great.
4 from behind the arc. But Wenyen often too is a guy that, on this team can fly under the radar. And, some of the opportunities he's getting are, to be fair to him, I think he's been doing the most with his minutes. And I think generally speaking, Wenyen's been fine, but part of the reason he's getting these minutes is because Thomas Bryant's been hurt. Damian Jones is unplayable and they have nobody else of size, particularly with LeBron hurt. And, Matt Ryan is somebody you can only play situationally. We saw that in this game as well.
Well, the scouting report. Remember when Mike Penberthy was like bananas good for like 15 games? And then everybody was like, just go guard him. And that takes some of it out. Like, I'm not saying Matt Ryan is useless, that he should be cut or whatever, but teams are a little bit slow sometimes. Players can be a little bit slow.
I'll tell you what they do, Brian.
People they've never heard of.
I'll tell you what they do, Brian. They've gotten the memo on now. When Matt Ryan's on the floor, they attack him. They go right the hell
attack him defensively and cover him. You can't leave just because you've never heard of him doesn't mean you can leave him alone offensively.
Right. So I mean, Wenyen Gabriel being effective in these minutes, because especially too, I forgot to mention JTA is out of the rotation. It's been really important that Wenyen play well. And this was a game where I thought he did some really nice things that ended up beneficial.
Okay, so in his post-game press conference, this is not a total surprise. It's been sort of trending this way. The Lonnie Walker indicated that Both Dennis Schroeder and Thomas Bryant should be or could be available for Friday's game. Lonnie was certainly talking about it as that being.
He said they will be available. It was interesting. He said he thought LeBron might be. He was much more definitive about Dennis and Thomas.
Right. So, Dr. Walker is getting out perhaps ahead of the Lakers PR staff, if nothing else. But players tend to know these things about who is on track to return and when. And this is not a new thing where a player in casual conversation might get ahead of what the coaching staff will say. But regardless,
God bless Andrew Bynum. He was the best.
He was the best at that. But
he was fantastic.
So that's two guys, and LeBron, if not back on Friday, that's the hope they have. The Lakers have 4 days between now and their next game. Yeah, right. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they play on Friday. A very rare thing in an NBA schedule to get 4 days, as Darvin Ham 4 days mentioned, 4 days to improve. So where do they go from here? They won one game. They are still 3-10. And like I said, I think this poses an interesting philosophical, attitudinal challenge to Darvin Ham and the rest of the group. I want to talk about that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get all the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, which I imagine you do, because otherwise, why are you with us?
What are you doing here
right now? I mean, really, I don't know if you're expecting some hot political talk, but you ain't going to find it here, because we've been told not to do that. You can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest, easiest way, BetOnline, that is, to get your betting fix. So head to the website today, use your mobile device, learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
We talked last week, Andy, about how this part of the schedule opens up some opportunities for the Lakers, starting with the Clipper game against a team that, Clippers have been playing better, but are vulnerable, at least compared to what they're supposed to be. Sacramento, under the radar, quietly playing better, but still a winnable game at home. The Lakers should have won that game, and they didn't. But they took the Brooklyn game. And you start to look forward. They played Detroit at home on Friday, San Antonio at home on Sunday. Road game against Phoenix, but then you got 2 against San Antonio. You play a relatively ordinary Indiana team before you get to Portland. Now,
boy, that Indiana game, narratives aplenty in that one. Subplots aplenty.
Yeah, there's gonna be some stuff to talk about.
Miles Turner's gonna top Joel Embiid. What Embiid did tonight, which, if you have not seen it,
this was a crazy night for centers. Like, Anthony Davis went for 35 and 18.
Yeah.
And had like the third best center in the league. Sabonis had 25 rebounds. Embiid went off for 57 points.
Nope. 59 points.
Oh, 59 Brian. Points. Right. You're right. 59 points and like 7 blocks,
11 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 blocks, 20 of 24 at the line, and 19 of 28 from behind the arc. 19 of 28 from the field. Like, that is insane.
That's insane. Like, Nikola Jokic had 14 assists. He's just like cruise control, and Denver won by 23. It was just like a big night for centers.
Darius Garland had 51 points. He's looking like, really, guys? Really? You had to do all this tonight?
I had no idea that happened.
Yeah, 51 points. It was a season high for this 22-23 season for like an hour, and then Embiid said, "Nope."
But good for Joel Embiid. But so in like micro terms, yeah, the Lakers in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games have an opportunity to like go 4-2. Like, that's realistic against this level of competition. 4-2 gets the Lakers to 7-12. Right? Am I doing the math right? I'm sorry. Yeah, 7-12 still leaves them 5 games under 500. My point here And then then you got games against Portland, you got games against Milwaukee. Like, there's ebbs and flows. The Lakers need to figure out a way to get themselves back to around 500 to have a shot, I think, to get in the play-in, all that stuff. But you can't do it in a week. They're not going to do it in 7 games. The amount of time it's going to take, building on that, winning 3 of 5 here, 4 of 7 there, and all that. And then you hope like in January, you're where you need to be. That's a really difficult challenge. Even if LeBron comes back and stays healthy, AD stays healthy, these new guys come back and they help. It doesn't fix everything right away. And the progress that they need to be able to make is going to be slow because they're not built to win 11 of 13 and just eat this whole day. I don't think it doesn't. I've seen no evidence of that.
a team that managed to have 2 5-game losing streaks over 12 games. You're doubting them?
I am. I want to be both honest with people, realistic, but also not overly negative. I mean, I'm trying not to be, I don't want to be, just despondent about everything. It is, I mean, as bad as it's been, they've only played 13 games. It is not over for where they need to go, but it's a long path back. And that's hard. It's hard to set your goals out that far and not get discouraged by a 2-game losing streak, or you lose 3 of 5 and like it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 foot. That's not easy.
Well, hopefully, I mean, if Dr. Walker is correct and Dennis Schroeder and Thomas Bryant are back for Friday, that's really big for the team. I mean, beyond the question of LeBron, which obviously is a massive, all-encompassing question, but Dennis Schroeder being back means Darvin Ham will no longer feel even the slightest impetus / necessity to play Kendrick Nunn, who you and I badly missed on our predictions heading into this season.
I was wrong.
Nunn has been unplayable. There was a point in this game in the first quarter where he had a sequence of threes that he didn't just miss, and he didn't just miss badly. He missed them badly, but in all sorts of different ways. Like as I tweeted out at Cam Brothers, I'll give Kendrick Nunn credit. He's missing every 3-pointer badly, but just like snowflakes, no 2 misses are exactly the same. Like his first of this sequence of misses was not quite in the corner, but relatively in the corner. He managed to not just airball it, but the ball basically went under the rim from there. Like it was the physics on this shot, this miss, like damn near impossible. I watched this go. I rewound it. I'm like, did that happen? Like, how did he do that?
He is, I believe the expression, bleeding confidence right now. I mean, like,
you can see how unsure he is of himself. Dribbling, shooting. Like there was a play where he got an assist. He set up, I think, Lonnie for a 3, which ended up a good play, except the reason he ended up giving up the ball was he had an open shot and then hesitated. And like, I mean, this was a wide open shot. And, something that frankly, in the preseason, he would have had no hesitation about putting up, but he clearly just is out of sorts and hyper conscious of the idea that he's out of sorts.
And it's a shame, like letting Kendrick Nunn kind of work through it and find, because just because he's playing really poorly doesn't mean all the stuff that we had said about his relative importance to this team and where it could go, all of that remains true.
Yeah, of course it's true. They're 3-12 or 3-10. I'm sorry,
3-10. Andy, don't make it worse than it is. Remember, we just had to talk about being optimistic. No. It doesn't make his potential importance to the team any less true. And if they were a game under 500 or 2 games under 500 or whatever it is, especially after the schedule, you can look at, they've got a little breathing room to let Kendrick Nunn work through it. They don't have breathing room to do anything. They barely have enough breathing room to breathe. And, so whether it's him, whether it's figuring out a fit for JTA, whatever it is, they don't have the room for any of that. And it is, they need Thomas Bryant to come back and play in a way that allows them to play another tall person. Because right now they can't. So they have Anthony Davis, and then it's Wenyen Gabriel. And I love Wenyen, but like that's not sustainable. You need at least another tall human to put on the floor. Schroeder has to kind of patch up some of the deficiencies that we've seen in the backcourt and provide a little bit of punch. They just that's one of the sort of the side disappointments of this start is guys like Kendrick Nunn just don't get an opportunity at this point to figure it out. The Lakers can't afford it.
Right. But hopefully, though, I mean, because we were talking about the importance of trying to cobble together some wins and trying to put themselves in a position where they can at least start salvaging this season. And maybe by the time, say, New Year's rolls around, maybe they're not at 500 at that point, but they are trending in that direction. You're saying, okay, they're starting to, consolidate themselves into a legitimate looking team. And the hope is they just don't run out of time. They will at least, knock on wood, be in the opportunity to have the best version of themselves doing this, at least theoretically.
You got to be in it. You have to stay close enough to be in it at it. And again, in it is not going to mean challenging probably for a 6 seed or a 5 seed. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it seems unlikely. Because it's going to be really crowded, and the Pelicans, it's going to be tough for some of those middle teams to really, really, really separate, which works for the Lakers' advantage. The Spurs are already kind of falling out. The Kings are kind of playing better than you be there. The Thunder have been a credible team that might fall out. It's going to be hard. But the Timberwolves theoretically are going to start playing better. The Warriors are going to start playing better. But you just got to be there. You got to be close enough to be there and keep playing. And the Lakers can do that. They are, they've got 3 wins. The 8 seed, the Clippers have 7. Okay. That's a big gap, 12 games in or 13 games in, but it's not insurmountable. And you can just get Darvin's going to have to, we can talk about this a lot during the week because I'm sure it's going to come up at practice. Darvin's challenge is going to really be to get them to play one game at a time and not try to dig themselves or, climb out of this hole all at once, because it can't be done. And, psychologically and from a coaching challenge, Darvin was really appreciative after Sunday's game about the support he's getting from guys like Anthony Davis. And, he said, AD's, I got your back, coach, and all that. They're going to need that kind of collective spirit, because this is a 3-month project to get themselves back to relevance, a 2.5-2-month project at the very least.
Well, if nothing else, we'll have a few days to just keep tabs on the collective temperature of this team. We'll see where it's going.
Got to get better. 4 days to get better. And a game that you must, 13th, 14th game of the season, I don't care. Detroit at home is a must win.
Yeah.
With 4 days of practice
to
prepare for it. Detroit is a must win Friday at home.
No argument.
So a lot to look forward to over the course of the week. Again, Locked On Lakers on YouTube, where you get a chance to see the show early. Join that community. Leave us some comments. It's a great week to try to work those comments into the show. We will be going through it every day and looking for good stuff to talk about. And you might hear your name on the big show. So we really appreciate it. See everybody on Tuesday.